Hello and welcome to another Shared Screens review. Joining me as part of Shared Screens, we have Alec Bobko, lead reviewer, and Jordan Deeb. How are we doing, everyone?
Doing great today.
Jordan?
I'm doing pretty good.
Pretty good. Not great.
Pretty good, yeah.
Fair enough. That's fair. So Alec kind of jumped on the bullet and played Forspoken for us, and I appreciate him for it so very much. But yes, we are reviewing Forspoken today. Luminous Productions is the dev. I believe they made Final Fantasy 15. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Because I had that down in my notes, and I was like, that sounds off, but I'll take it.
It's their first game since then.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I do want to start with Jordan's surface level thoughts, because Alec is our lead reviewer. I'm Austin. Hi, I almost forget to say that. Hi, I'm Austin. I'm hosting. Hi, hello. So Jordan, what did you think of Forspoken?
So I just want to give a little bit of back context where 2020, first year I ever played Final Fantasy games. First one was 15. Second one was 7 remake. PS5 reveal happens. Seeing a lot of cool trailers. We got no, we didn't get God of War at the time. We got Miles Morales. We got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And then we got this little thing called Project Athia from the Final Fantasy 15 team. And I adored Final Fantasy 15. Even though I see that there's issues with how the story is presented, I think I like that world better than even 7 remake.
Wow.
From a personal perspective rather than an objective perspective. Very excited for this Project Athia thing. We find out it's called Forspoken.
Weird name.
Things are looking solid. Then a little bit of more things start looking rocky, gets pushed, but you don't think it was pushed because of a game, because of a needed delay, but more pushed for marketing reasons because it got pushed like 2 hours after God of War's date got announced type of thing.
Sure.
Okay. I could say a lot of things about what Forspoken is. I'm going to tell you the one thing it's not, and that is engaging.
Oof.
I am only 50% into the story. There are 12 chapters in this. I looked it up. I am at the start of chapter 7. How long to beat has it at? About 15 hours if you're mainlining the story, which it has been. You'd imagine that puts me at about the 7-ish hour mark. I'm at a 15-hour mark because I just keep pausing this game and going on my phone. The game cannot hold my attention.
No.
And to think about the fact that I'm 50% into this game is mind-boggling because if you ask me, I feel like I'm just getting started. The tutorials do not stop. The map is so busy. The power sets are very, like, you start out with one, and I just got the second one. Now, keep in mind, I just said I'm 50% into the game. And for most of this time, the one power set I did have, the enemies resisted it for some reason. So I'm actually only just now liking the gameplay and the combat now that I have the second power set.
And you got that how recent, you said?
I got it at the end of chapter 6. I got it.
Okay.
So like I and it's finally starting to make some of the traversal and the combat more interesting. And I'm just not interested in this game at all. But I don't even want to. I can't even use the word bad because bad implies that there's some level of finality to the product. This feels like it's a proof of concept, and that's all I have in front of me.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, was it kind of Forspoken that we saw as like that tech demo like a long time ago when there was like someone going through like a cavern in between these two?
No,
Was that not it?
That was
Okay.
Unreal.
That was an
for
Unreal
Henry.
Engine thing that there was one level in here that did kind of look like that proof of concept for the Unreal Engine 5 demo, but that was truly just
Okay.
the whole thing beginning and
Instance.
ended with a girl walking into a cavern and there being an army of terracotta soldiers
Okay.
type of thing.
Yeah, I just remember that looking very, very similar, and I was like, "Is this something to do with that?" But fair enough, if not.
Yeah,
I was
this
just wrong on that one.
just feels like a proof of concept. Some of the controls are incredibly awkward. And the game the tutorials have not stopped 50% into this game. Yet the story went from tutorial to suddenly I'm supposed to care about everything super fast. There is no rising. It goes from exposition to climax.
Okay. That's a doozy.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into Alec, our lead reviewer, again, thank you for jumping on the bullet on this one. Shared Screens is a group of people. We got together from the Kind of Funny community and we make content. And right now we're reviewing stuff. We are reviewing the T-Lu, The Last of Us show that is up. Is it the next day or is it like right away? I haven't watched an episode
We
yet.
try to we tried to upload it Mondays. So
On
it should
Mondays,
be
okay.
uploaded Monday mornings.
Okay, so
So
if
you
you like
should
what
be able to see episode 3 right now.
right now. So if you like what you're seeing, give us a like, watch our other stuff, all that fun jazz. It will help us out a lot, and it's completely free to you. So thank you in advance. We appreciate it. Alec, you are reviewing Forspoken for shared screens.
Yes.
Get into it. What do you like? What don't you like? Explain it all for me as the viewer. Let's get it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so for like Jordan hit a lot of my main points that I hit in our TikTok, YouTube short, reel, Instagram, or whatever you want to call it. That I had there where it's my main thing is the game just has bad pacing. Like the story is very slow to start. Then around like chapter 3, it really kind of hits you with like an emotional moment that's like kind of gets you invested. But then it just kind of falls flat towards the middle of the game. And like he was saying with the power set, you don't get you're stuck with that first your base power set until halfway through the game, and it as long as you're mainlining it, I should say, story wise, and it just feels like you would want to unlock those way earlier, because let me tell you, it is actually really fun when you're switching between your different magic types, switching between different spells, and it's like you get into that like flow state of combat.
Mhm.
And like because the main point of the game, it in a way kind of like Pokemon, you're trying to find the enemy's weakness, and in this case they call it vulnerable.
Okay.
And it's interesting that they just lock that so late in the game story wise, when they want it to be an open world littered with icons, but a lot of the traversal, the combat mechanics are just the last half of the game.
So, I mean, yeah. So in terms of pacing, it's both narrative and the gameplay that it's lacking in pacing.
Correct.
It's not
Yeah.
just one or the other. Okay. Yeah, that kind of sucks. And just for background on me, I have not played this game. I am just here as a mediator for this review and to ask key questions. You mentioned the traversal. Is traversal and exploration? I'll kind of link into that a little bit. Is that like the only promising aspect of this game? We can get into more of it later, but that's what I hear people talking about. Is like that's the shining element. Is that true?
Yes, I would say that, and the end game combat, because once you have like I said, once you have everything unlocked, that's when you can really get into the zone and like really figure out what spells you want to use.
Sure.
But at the same time, like for me, like Jordan said, you don't unlock the first spell or the second set of spells until like halfway through the story. I almost had the first tree completely unlocked by the time I got that magic, or the second type of magic. Like, and I was really mainly focusing on one spell in particular on both the attack and the support side.
Now,
So that links back to the pacing, just kind of
Yeah.
knocking the combat down a peg, because you can't really like experiment with the other things that they had to offer until late game.
Alec, I just want to ask, since you played the whole game and I didn't get to, you get the first new power set after you kill the first Tanta.
Yep.
Which I know sounds like an animal from Star Wars, is not
was just gonna
often.
say
They're
that.
goddesses, apparently.
It's a Tauntaun.
Aha!
These are
yeah.
Tanta.
My
Tanta.
mistake. My
Yeah.
mistake.
These
One
ones you
letter
can't.
different. One letter
Yeah,
different.
these ones you can't cut open and sleep in for warmth. I mean, or you could. I don't know, man.
I mean,
Anyway, so and your power set is very much it's hers, for lack of a better compare. Like it's like a Mega Man
Yeah.
thing. You kill her, you take her powers. To have gotten the first one 50% into the game, then are the next few levels just, oh, now I kill Tanta 2 and Tanta 3 and Tanta 4, and then I get power set 3 and power set 4 and power set 5, because the one you have is it's its own thing. Like, do you just get those back to back to back, or do you not get a power set for killing each of them? Or do you not kill all of them?
So you do get a power set for each of them, but you don't necessarily kill them. I don't want to. I mean,
okay, but you get
wanna
after you
spoil things.
after you defeat them, you get their power set.
yes, there is a twist. Like, of course, with all JRPGs, there's a secret, god that you end up fighting at the end.
And let me guess, one of the Tauntauns are good, and that's like it's like the 4 witches, and like you have to side with the good witch.
No,
No,
it is kind of a twist. I didn't see it coming, but
I see. I feel like there's some level of a twist where we won't spoil it here, but like I'm playing this entire game going, somebody's lying to somebody. I just get that vibe. Like, or
Always one.
maybe you want to answer this off camera. Here's my conspiracy right now to the
Mhm.
game. Is this the future? Like, is this not a different world? Is it just the future?
Well, you see the year in the notes where it's like
Yeah.
3,000 something or another.
Do they ever address that?
I don't think so.
All right.
Because I thought it was going to be like, I was going to be like, is the huge twist that this is not an alternate world, but it's just the world 1,000 years from now when we're medieval again? And they ruined that by giving you the years on the notes.
Right?
Okay. I wanna reel it back in a little bit. The
Yeah.
way I worded that question is like, is traversal the only promising element? From what I'm understanding, it sounds like the combat is promising, but it just takes forever to get to it. Is that a
Correct.
correct statement? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just
In my
starting to
opinion, yeah.
enjoy it.
Because early on in the game, they give you kind of a taste of the open world. And that's kind of, for me, like after my first initial session with the game, I ended around like about 3.5 hours. And you get that little taste of the game or the open world and your combat and kind of the free flowing nature of it all. But then when you're actually let loose into the open world, it's just like, okay, what now? Like you're just seeing all these icons, but it's weird to me because you're seeing all these icons with stuff to do, but the world still feels empty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you felt that same way, Jordan.
See, I felt exactly what you're saying, where it feels so empty, yet the icons are everywhere. And the icons being everywhere also makes the map feel so overwhelming, but not in a but it's like one of the things I kept noticing on the map is that they mark every single treasure chest.
Yep.
So I don't know if they're supposed to, and I'm not the Elder Ring person that's like, don't tell me anything. I want to discover everything on my own. But I guess the best comparison I can make in my head is like in Spider-Man, they track the 50 backpacks, but the 50 backpacks are not on the map all at once. Like if you scan for them, you see the ones around you, but you don't go into the map and oh, there's every backpack. There is no, because half the fun is like when you're swinging and then you hear the beep and you stop where you're going to locate it from there. They're just spoon feeding you everything. So the map has
Like
all these everything of even that you could maybe interact with is a mark on the map.
Yeah, think Ubisoft map, but like more icons.
Like the meme of Ubisoft map. And the thing is, they start appearing right away. Going back to the Spider-Man comparison, I would say one of my only complaints of Spider-Man 2018 is that the game has a lot of fat on it. But not only is that fat okay because that game is so fun to play on its own, it starts out slow. Like, oh, in the first chapter, you get the Kingpin things. And then the second chapter, you get the demon warehouses. And then in the third act, you get the Sable stuff. Like, if you time those stuff while you're playing the story, you end up eliminating them. Whereas here, it's like in the beginning, they're showing you everything. It's like starting New Game Plus, but from the beginning.
Huh. But not even, because along with what I was saying, it's like the story starts off slow. Like you don't get into the open world until like in my first session, I just got that little taste of the open world. I didn't get to the actual open world where they're like, okay, go to your first, main objective.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're talking about open world. Would this game have benefited from being more linear and not just
definitely.
like littering a bunch of stuff everywhere?
Yes. And I also want to point out two things that I saw in which like the open world was unnecessarily used. It was during these in between chapters, like which if I describe right now, you guys all know what I'd be talking about in a video game, where there's a thing like she comes back and kills the first boss, and they're like, we're having a celebration for you in the tavern.
Oh my gosh!
I
was gonna say that.
if you like, and then they make you go to point in this party, but you're not getting even exposition. You're getting these random lines that's just like, oi, we saved the city and we're so happy now. And and they make you travel to the other side of the party. And the only thing, like, I feel like any other game would have designed it as the character going, or not even a cutscene, just more the characters going, oh, here, follow me, get you a drink. And as you're like walking through the bar and shuffling through the people. These lines are being said. Not a marker goes 40 feet away and you have to walk up to that person and they just say what sounds like a background line, but is the mission objective is just to get them to say that line to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that quest line, that's something I made note of because this game, it's not like Jordan said, it's not a bad game. It's just, it has so much against it that keeps bringing it down a peg. Like, when, with all the, in that specific quest moment, you have to go around because they, you saved the city. So everybody's, going around celebrating and they're thanking you for saving them. And you literally have to go to, I want to say it was like, what, 10 different people it felt like? And they're literally like all over this like square or like town square area. And it's just like, and every time you go for some dialogue, screen fades to black. You did see the dialogue and it fades back in.
Yes.
It's just like,
so much of this game is designed so I'm not going to say poorly, but just not up to date. It's like this was a game in development hell. And so it's like when Duke Nukem Forever finally came out in 2013 and it still had the humor of like a video game from 2001 when it was supposed to come out. This has that vibe with its gameplay design.
Yeah. Another thing with that, like just while we're on this kind of point of odd decisions, is there's a quest line very early on where this guy is showing you around the city for the first time. And you go to this area where they have sheep, and the quest line is you have to feed the sheep. So you don't actually see the sheep eating. It fades, does that fade to black, and then a text pops up on screen, sheep was fed. Then it fades back. You don't actually see the sheep eating.
No.
Even though when it fades back in, you're bent down, like you have your hand right by the sheep. It's like, why did you fade away like that?
That's what I say when
it makes no sense.
That's what I mean when I say sometimes the game seems like a proof of concept because, a text box saying sheep was fed and then it cuts away. That's something I expect on like a JRPG from the 80s where, it's like a little town simulator and you're getting the little updates and text boxes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to touch on, or can I have a decent question, Alec? You're the lead reviewer, so you can steer us if you like.
See. I guess the other major thing was just this game is also just repetitive, like in terms of just gameplay. Like it can feel very button mashy. Like I could definitely see a use case. I definitely see why PlayStation decided to launch the DualSense Edge this week.
Oh, I have a fucking conspiracy about that with this game. Let me tell you.
Go on.
Because go ahead, Jordan.
Okay,
I can't hear that and not ask.
Yeah,
the way you parkour in this game is you move while holding circle.
Yes,
but you can't hold circle and also move the camera around. But the camera needs to be moved around faster when you're running faster. And so part of me's going, if only I had a fucking back paddle to hold so I could keep my finger on the camera joystick.
That's literally my point is that there's so many people that review the DualSense Edge and we're also reviewing Forspoken. It's like, oh yeah, this actually works out well. It's like, yes, they made that happen on purpose because Forspoken would work really well. Like I honestly thought like, man, because I did review this game on PS5, worth mentioning, that it would I would kind of wish I would have gotten on PC so I could use my Xbox Elite Series 2 controller to have the back paddles.
Yeah, that as far as conspiracies go, Jordan, I think you're onto something. I think you got something there. So
I honestly don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's just very good marketing.
Fair enough.
What's the difference? I feel like that just depends on what side of the fence you're on. Okay, and I'm not in bed with big controller. Okay.
I mean, I did think about getting it, but I'm like, I already have an Elite Series 2. I don't need the DualSense Edge.
Big controller. Okay. I do have a question. So,
yeah,
we've established that traversal, late game combat, but mostly traversal and exploration were like the promising elements. Were like if it was surrounded by a better game like those, that would have been good. They would have stood out as good regardless.
I don't think traversal feels good until the combat feels good too. That second power set adds something to traversal as well. That's
for sure.
Missing that first half of the game.
So that's important to note. But do we think that's the reason why it's open world? Because you're going from point A to point B a lot, and so they're trying to lean into the traversal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So
There's
does that
literally a oh, go ahead.
does that feel deliberate, and is that where they went wrong? It is my question, I guess.
Yes and no. Like,
Okay.
I understand they wanted to have this great like parkour system where you're running all around and you need a big wide open area, but at the same time, like literally in the third world, uh or I guess when you're in the third Tanta's like area of the world, it's literally just a wide open grass field.
Okay.
Oh, and the map is huge.
Okay.
Yeah. But like the first couple of terrains or the or biomes, terrains, whatever you want to call them, are actually pretty cool. And it's just one of those like you have those cool terrains, and then it's just like, oh hey, here's just a field. It's just kind of dark.
Okay. Fun, I guess.
But yeah, one thing I do want to say, just bring up is there's a quest line you can get early on that locks parts of photo mode behind quest line, like side quests.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, don't do that. Don't make this a trend, please. I
Yeah,
like my
I don't
photo
like-
mode stuff. I don't want to have to do gameplay stuff to unlock cool photo mode stuff. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know exactly what it unlocks. I got a few of the snapshots they were asking. You really have to take pictures because she has she's from modern times, but she's got transfer that. So she has a cell phone, and people are wondering what the heck this thing is. It's like, oh, it takes pictures, and it's the kind of way. So there's a quest line where it's like, oh, because they're stuck in the city, so you have to have this quest to go and take pictures of the world that they can't see.
Hmm.
And then that's how you unlock different parts of photo mode.
Okay. Yeah, like in my experience, like I'm totally cool. I'm not saying this is what you're saying. I'm totally cool with like you can't enter photo mode until like the tutorial pops up. Like there's sometimes where like if you're in a
Exactly,
tutorial
yeah.
early on, like there's certain buttons you can't use, like dodge or parry or whatever until you
Yep.
learn that. I'm cool with photo mode being locked for like that first half hour or so because you haven't learned how to do that yet. But locking it behind a quest line or a side quest
Well,
for that
photo
matter.
mode itself isn't locked behind the quest, but just
Okay.
certain parts of it.
Certain parts of it, okay.
It would be like you couldn't use the lighting effects in Spider-Man PS4's photo mode until you got all 50 landmark pictures. Like, just imagine that was how that worked.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
And
I
then
don't know.
the other thing about that photo mode quest is it's so precise and it doesn't snap you. Like if I'm the photo mode thing, right? And this is the lens, there'll be like an arrow that says go here, go there. So it's like whether you're seeing me from this angle or this angle is a big difference. And let's say this is the correct one. And it's going go left, it'll quickly snap, but you could so easily go that you suddenly have to slow down until like it doesn't snap you there for a solid 2 seconds. It's so quick to keep you going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alec, keep us going, and unless you don't have much to add, I have some questions, so lay it on me.
Yeah.
Keep us rolling.
I guess my next big thing is that one thing I did or wasn't a fan of is there was no way to cancel out of an attack once you initiated it, because in like big boss fights, you're starting this like heavy spell where you got to charge it up, or like you're starting this animation. Once you've started an attack, you can't end it, or you can't cancel out of it and like dodge, which really sucks because some of those bosses attacks would deal a lot of damage.
Are a lot of these moves, do they have long combat animations? Is that what we're like a lot of them have?
Yes.
Have
And
that?
then they also have long recharge rates. So if you miss because you clicked it by accident or the boss dodged, you have to wait for it to reload before you can even try that attack again.
Okay.
Mhm.
So maybe like implementing something where like if at least if the attack lands, like it comes back faster or something.
Well, not
something
even
along
that, because that's just a regular recharge rate. I'm talking about like you're in the heat of battle, and you start up an attack, like you initiate an attack, and then the boss is coming at you with a heavy attack that it's an unblockable attack essentially, where you have to get out of the way. You can't cancel that attack to get out of the way. You have to just let that animation play through to be able to do your next move.
So you can't muscle like a dodge in there.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's a lot of times where you're just taking way too much damage because the animation needed to finish.
So it sounds like, at least the way you're explaining it, there's a little bit of a risk reward thing there, but that's not, they don't like work on that as a mechanic. It's just kind of bad design, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't even think of it a risk reward. It's just
Okay.
like game design. It's like it's kind of like in fighting games where you can kind of cancel out of certain moves
Right.
or animations. It's like you should be able in a game like this where there's unblockable attacks that you just need to get out of the way of.
Okay.
You should be able to press the parkour button to start running and get out of the way.
Press dodge and a directional button to
Exactly.
Get out of there. Yeah. Okay. What else you got for me, Alec?
Let me take a look through. Oh, big thing for me at least, and maybe people that have poor eyesight. The menu UI in this is way too small. Like I legitimately had to bring my TV closer to my couch to be able to see this comfortably.
I saw the photo of your entertainment system just like kind of like pulled out
like about
wall.
a foot and a half. Yeah. Just because I was literally on the edge of my seat, like when I first started playing this,
and not in the good way.
Yeah. And like leaning forward, like way forward to even like make that stuff readable. And
sure,
I guess that is a big thing. I did have say in the short review of this that it's a good first attempt by the studio or the devs to put accessibility into their game, because their last game was Final Fantasy 15, didn't have any of the accessibility stuff. And I actually learned this from watching one of Steve Saylor's or the Blind Gamer video on this, where studios in Japan don't really put accessibility settings into their games. So seeing this, and it's nowhere near the levels of like Sony's, like Naughty Dog or Santa Monica, but it's a good first attempt at it. Like there's automatic loot pickup, there's automatic lock picking, colorblind filters that you can there's stuff that you can do with the cuff where you can change the dialogue or the chattiness function, kind of like how they had in High on Life with the guns.
Right. Fair enough.
There's just a ton of different options that you can go through. And I thought they had mentioned something about making the text larger, but apparently that was only with the subtitles, not necessarily the menu UI, because you can make HUD larger, but you can't make like the menu stuff larger.
Okay. So I mean, at least there was an attempt there, but there's still work to be done.
Exactly. So that's what I said. A good first attempt at it. Sure. It's like you gotta have some building blocks here and there.
Yeah, that's worth mentioning. I think that's a strong point. You brought up the dialogue. From what I've heard, the dialogue's real bad. Can you expound on that?
So honestly, I didn't think it was like terrible. Like it actually gave me a few chuckles like towards the beginning half of the game, or the beginning hours of the game. But man, that stopped pretty quick once you get towards like chapters 4 and 5. It just that kind of humor stuff just kind of stops. And it's just kind of like, hey, we need to go kill this person now.
See, I feel like it's the other way around, where it doesn't stop, and that's what makes it worse. Where
maybe for me, I turned it down so I didn't hear it as much, because I legitimately heard a line, the same exact line.
So
from Cuff,
is it the
like within
try
like 5
not to get
minutes
hit, and then she goes, "What am I, superhuman?" Like those two kept replaying over and over.
It was a different one, but I'm literally not kidding. It was like within 5 minutes they said the same line, and I'm like, yeah, no, okay, this is done. I'm done with that. I don't need that.
The dialogue is like, to me, the examples on Twitter were not even the things that I have issues with, because I understand that in a fish out of water situation, where if one of us in just everyday regular ass life got sent to a fucking medieval land, we'd probably be like, so wait, I can fucking do this shit now? Like, I get that. But I'm also saying this just like I said fucking shit as like a filler in for like, you mean I can do this? Every time she curses, it sounds very awkward. Like it sounds like she's cursing because she's cursing. Like because they want her to. Then there's also her sarcasm never drops. And it's almost like she's trying so hard to always speak in slang so the people in this world never understand her. Like there's one
Mm.
scene after the party where the some religious councilwoman comes up to her and is like, I misjudged you. And she goes, you did what? And she's like trying to sound like she's surprised about the fact that this person's admitting this. She goes, say what? Like she's always just talking like it's slang. And you could tell that it was also written by like 50 years old, because what do we all call these devices? I just want everybody to tell me, what do we call these?
Cell phone.
Cell
Cell
phones.
phone, smartphone, whatever. Yeah.
I feel like we just call them phones or cell phones. She only ever refers to it as a smartphone. And I feel like in 2015-ish, we all just stopped saying smartphone because all phones became smartphones. It was like at the beginning when people still had flip phones. We were like, oh, it's a flip phone or it's a smartphone. They're all fucking smart now. The robots are coming for us. They're all intelligent. Like, she only ever calls it a smartphone. Then there's the other one where it's like she only calls her shoes her kicks. And she's like, they got me at some tough scraps before. Like, every line is I don't know how to explain it.
The kicks one, like that didn't bother me because it's literally just like twice, like once towards the beginning and once towards the end. Like it's not like as frequent as people are making it out to be.
It's not that it's frequent, it's that I don't know anybody that legitimately just refers to their shoes as kicks. Like, I'm talking even sneakerheads.
Okay. The verbiage there was a little forced, it seems. I have two like closing questions before we get into your score, Alec. So if you have something to bring up before those two questions.
Yeah, I got a couple other things. I was looking back through my notes while Jordan was talking. One of them, there's a chapter later on where an event happens and Frey, the main character, throws quite near an Atreus level temper tantrum. And it is just one of those like, you were likable to like average, but this is what made me kind of cringe at the game, where it's just like, you're making that temper tantrum that Atreus did in God of War 2018 like look mellow.
Oh, okay. Good context. I appreciate that. Yeah, that stuff like that with Atreus was like one of my like the only downside to God of War 2018 for me personally. So like if you're saying it's that times like 10, or I mean I'm misquoting, but you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
So that I can see that not being enjoyable.
Is the reason that it's less enjoyable because Atreus is supposed to be like a cringy 10 to 11-year-old in God of War 2018, so you excuse it by being like, I hate that this is accurate, so I hate it. I'm like, I'm asking you, like, is it just embarrassing because you're like, ma'am, you are 21 years old?
I don't know. It just is like, it's just an overreaction. And it's just like, I don't know. I just didn't like it.
How far into the game are we talking? Like, did I see this?
Honestly, no. This was like 8 to 10, somewhere in that realm.
Okay. I'm not gonna play till I get to it. You could just tell me later.
Yeah. Other thing, there's a choice towards the end of the game. Kind of like hey, here's the right choice you should make to basically go to the end of the game, but here's like the alternate choice that can go. And you know it's going to be the bad ending. But I would have liked to see a little bit more effort put into the bad ending, because I'm not kidding, it's like a 30-second cutscene and then it rolls credits.
Oh no.
It's like you put like no effort into that whatsoever.
So it would have been better to just not have it. In your opinion.
I think so.
Especially when the rest of the game doesn't have you making choices.
Yeah, because this one, it's essentially go home and live your life or fight the boss or fight the final boss.
Okay. Sorry, that's real bad. Because I've gone to games like that where it's like you can end right now if you want, but it's very clear which one you should do.
And that's this. That is this. Let me make like I made a separate save point just because I wanted to see what that alternate ending was.
I do that too. I do it all the time. Yeah.
But it was But I guess to end on something a bit more positive, I had very little to no bugs or glitches. Like,
the game runs very well. This is like the inverse of Gotham Knights, where like I liked that game and what it was trying and what it had to offer, but performance was not good. In this game, I'm like, if this game had the performance and Gotham Knight, like just combine the two games, give us one super shitty game and one really good game.
So, like, there's one, like towards one of the beginning quests where the guy's showing around town. Where I'm not sure if it was a glitch, but like because like they had the weird like fade to blacks when you're talking to someone, like it was like I was talking to some kids and it like faded black real quick. They kind of giggled and then it faded back and they were gone. Like it was like a couple
Jesus.
seconds. Like so that's why I'm like not sure like what happened because they were like the last people I talked to in this side quest.
Are you sure they
So I
weren't
was
ghost kids?
right. Like it's just kind of weird. Like so that's why I'm not sure. I'm not really chalking it up to a bug glitch or a glitch, but it just seemed odd. So I'm not sure exactly what could happen there. But then the other one was in the I think it's the second Tanta's fight. I literally just the game kind of like froze for a second or two. But like literally in my 15 hours of playing the game, that was it.
Okay.
There is something about performance I want to ask you if you noticed, Alec.
Mhm.
Were you what mode were you playing on?
Performance.
Okay, did you try to switch it at any point just to see how good the
No.
game could look? Okay.
Nope.
I tried a couple times to switch it to ray tracing. I am convinced this game has one mode and is just letting you pick to like I think it's placeboing you. Cuz
Mm.
I was like surprised when I switched from performance to ray tracing and then I go, we're going to restart you back from the last checkpoint. Okay, interesting. I'm
Gotcha.
then not seeing any difference in the shadows at all.
Mhm.
And I'm going to use Spider-Man as a comparison again. In Spider-Man, I when I'm trying to take really good photos, I will switch into ray tracing because obviously I want the photo mode to come out the best. And there's like those first few seconds of me going back into 30 FPS, I can really tell that I'm back in 30 FPS. And after about a minute of swinging, I adjust to it, you know?
Mhm.
Going back to back without even having to reload, just go to the menu, switch it to performance. Running around, I'm like, okay, go to menu, switch it to ray tracing. Don't see a difference in the shadows. I do not see a difference in the frame rates. I'm convinced the game has one mode and is just lying to the audience about having these different settings.
That'd be interesting to see if like that's like a digital
foundry thing. Because the other thing, it's like it's also not. I also don't get a warning being like this setting will kick in at the next loading point. You know, like it doesn't do that either. And then the graphics are also just inconsistent. The pre-rendered cutscenes legitimately look fantastic. In-game, like more in-engine cutscenes looked like a PS2 Harry Potter game at one point. Like the lips never mouth up to what the person is saying. Like they're just going like this.
That and sometimes the people just look kind of like Uncanny Valley. Like,
Dude,
I never got over that the entire game.
There was when in the quest I talked about before at the party when you're just walking around getting the generic lines said to you, there's one kid who says something to you and like this kid is making like this kid's mouth is not sitting right on the face of the model. Like the kid looks like it's going like this is its face. Like I can't tell if this kid is holding in or letting it out. Like just like the biggest wettest shit of their life. Like I don't know, but legit the lips were like curled up. The mouth is like this wide. This is in mocaps. I don't feel bad making fun of this kid.
I just like to think that like this guy is just living his life, has to take a massive dumper. He's like, oh crap, this is my line. Oh no. Really,
yeah, and like,
that cracks me up.
And I texted you guys this. Mm-hmm. There's 2 points in the first half of the game where somebody grabs an apple to eat. These apples are so fucking big. Like, I'm not kidding you.
African apples.
They're like I don't have any round thing to use. Maybe that Pokeball way back there. Like these apples are this big.
So we're talking bigger than a softball.
Yes.
Oh no.
Because I feel like if I see an apple the size of a softball, I just go, that is like a well-made county fair apple. But that's like a county fair wearing award-winning apple. This is some GMO science.
You know what they have
shit
over there in Athia?
Yeah, maybe in the future or whatever timeline this is, there's Big Apple.
And
they did what they wanted.
You're saying a softball. Imagine an apple the size of a cantaloupe. That's what it looked like in proportion to them. Like these apples are so fucking big.
Forspoken review. The fuck's going on with these apples? That's the headline. All right, so I have two questions, but Alec, any last thoughts before I get into my questions?
I think that's it. I think
Okay.
we got everything. Yeah.
Do we think this is writing on the wall for more linear games coming into the ecosystem? Like, not everything will have to be open world. Because I know for a while it was like open world or nothing. Do we think linear games are making a resurgence, making a comeback?
I personally hope so
Okay.
because I actually, towards the end of last year and beginning of this year, I had a bit of open world fatigue. So I've been kind of going back and playing more linear games just because there have been so many open world games. And I
Mhm.
believe Josh is even kind of feeling that open world fatigue too because I know he's been going back and playing through, I feel the Jack and Daxter games.
Yeah, I saw him playing Jack 2, thanks to Discord. Let me know.
Mhm.
But yeah. Jordan, what do you think?
Um, Here, so what I'm looking up right now is I don't necessarily know if this game is a sign of that because this team has only ever made open world games, Final
Good
Fantasy
point. Good
15
point.
and Forspoken. And for
Mhm.
all the negatives that you could say about Final Fantasy 15, most of that tends to be with how the story, not even what the story is, it's how it's presented between having to watch a movie between two chapters and playing DLC. The open world of Final Fantasy 15 is good. The traversal is also very unique because you have this. I don't know if you've ever played it, Austin, but like you have a mechanism where like you throw a ghost sword and you teleport to where the ghost sword is. Like it's fucking sick.
Sounds cool.
This again, I just something about it feels so just proof of concept because there are so many ideas where like there's going to be an armor system where you wear different cloaks and necklaces and give that which they'll have one initial ability but then they have spaces for two mods and then you have the nail polish abilities on top of. I'm not even, this is not a joke, this is not me. Characters,
Mhm.
the nail polish you
Yeah.
wear gives
Well,
you
there is a
different.
lore reason for that,
Yeah,
though.
and it's like mods on your character, your guns or your attachments, whatever, like perfectly fine. But there's also just such a big open world, and then there's also the skill trees, and then there's this tether mechanic that also feels awkward in the hands where you hold square to use it but you don't use the right stick to point to where you're going, you use the left, and that just doesn't feel right. And it's also given this weird like chart look when you're scanning for where to tether to. So just something about this as an open world game feels so just proof of concept, like so many
Mhm.
half-baked ideas shoved into one game that I don't know if I could say this game is a sign of what's to come.
I think the only reason I thought of that question, because it wasn't one I had written down, is because this feels like it. Don't get me wrong; it feels deliberately crafted in the sense that they're leaning into their exploration, they're leaning into their traversal. But it feels like this title would have benefited from being linear, so they just made it open world. Now, granted, it was a good point that you said that they make open world games. Like, I think that's an important aspect of this. I just think it would have benefited from being more linear at the very least,
If you
from
you
what
know
I'm hearing.
I get what you, yeah, I would say this. If this game was this type of open world and it came from something like a Naughty Dog or a Sony Santa Monica where they make those like linear plus
Open
games,
zones.
like open zones, and they're trying to venture out into full open world, I'd say like, hey, yeah, embrace the linear game.
Fair
With
enough.
these guys, it just I personally think there is a case of too many cooks in the kitchen with this game because it doesn't sound like any idea was left on the cutting room floor.
A lot of jack of all trades, master of none type of deal.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question before we get into Alec giving us his score is they announced Forspoken 2, right? And they say we're
Not too
reworking the
slow.
Spoken.
combat. We're reworking the combat. We still have the exploration and the traversal. You guys, we heard what you said. You like that, but they're making it more linear. Are you in for Forspoken 2? Because they're leaning into the aspects, which is like the gameplay is similar in concept to what you get endgame. Not like you have everything unlocked, but you know what I mean.
Mhm. Right.
Is that something that
I
would get pique your interest?
I honestly think so.
Oh, okay,
Um, Maybe not for full $70,
sure, sure,
but it's definitely like I I didn't absolutely hate my time playing this game, but at the
sure.
same time, I wish I would have been playing Hi-Fi Rush.
That's a good ass game. Let me tell you, that's a fun game.
Yeah, you must have had a fun week, Austin, huh?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I only posted in our just a private general channel for the 9 of us here at Shared Screens, the meme of Squidward looking out at SpongeBob and Patrick,
Yeah.
and I had Forspoken as Squidward, and then Hi-Fi Rush and Dead Space as SpongeBob and Patrick.
Yeah.
Super accurate. I totally get it. And I just think I asked that question because I think it's important that this game, I don't want to call it a failure, but like it failed to balance everything that they try to like prove a concept stuff, right? But I think it's
Yeah.
worth noting that the things that are good are genuinely good. So there is
Yes.
something to work with here if they intended to make, even if it's not a
Like
Forspoken
cut
2,
cut the
but
fluff.
yeah, but another project where they take what is good from Forspoken and make a different title, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, because it's something I didn't mention is that just a lot of the side quest stuff is just kind of boring. Like the kind of main side thing I actually did through most of the game, aside from when I was just trying to mainline it to get through the game,
sure.
was the labyrinth areas where basically like there's this like fancy like dome kind of thing looking thing you can see from the open world, and it's kind of like challenge areas essentially, where you're going through. There's some higher level enemies there.
Oh, like
You
they're
can
like
get some
Zelda
good.
dungeons in a way. I know what you're talking about. They're like those
Eh,
little.
I wouldn't say they're dungeons. They're literally just like going through some corridors, and you get to a room with enemies in them. But uh, you get that's like basically the only way you can get good loot in the game. Um, so I like for me, I didn't really. I kind of kept with one or two pieces of armor or gear the entire game, and just kept upgrading those because there's just the loot in this game is just not great.
Fair enough. That's the Austin special where I find two things that I like and I just stick with that. That is what I do in
See,
video games.
normally I don't like to do that, like just
Mm,
because I like to, kind of try different things here and there. But
sure.
with this, it's like you're not, like unless you do the specific things that get you the loot, you're not tempted to even go out and get it, and you're not rewarded with them as often as you would think you would in a game in an open world game like this
Sure.
to improve your stats because you're using those materials to improve your current gear, but the gear you're getting isn't a high enough level or it doesn't have enough of a bonus effect on it to make you want to switch from what you've been upgrading.
Make it worthwhile. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
Okay. So everything we've heard, Alec, what do you give Forspoken on our shared screens review scale?
I'm giving Forspoken a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay, so that's a 20-point scale for those who are wondering. 6 out of 10. Jordan, do you agree with a 6 out of 10 from what you've played?
From what I've played, I'd personally give it a little less, but I have heard from people that have completed the game that the good tends to shine more the further you get into it. So I believe it, but right now I'm more of like a 5 out of 10.
And Alec, if
See,
someone were to give this a 5 out of 10, does that feel crazy to you, or is that accurate?
I wouldn't say crazy, but to
Okay,
me, like a 5 out of 10 is like that's where you're starting to get into like bad game. Like like I said, this game like it performs well, like technically, like
mhm,
it's not broken at all
mhm,
in my sense. It's just like I had said in the TikTok review or the social review, is
mhm,
that there's just enough going against this game to just keep knocking it down. And like even with me, I was going into this because I played the demo. I enjoyed what I played,
sure,
but still was going into this with kind of cautiously optimistic, kind of just hoping for one of those good like swimming in sevens kind of game.
right.
Um, but even then, it still really wasn't able to live up to that expectation. So
Do we think there's a world, and this is not marketing money speak, I'm saying, is there a world where the demo comes out, people talk, they say they don't like it, they rework it, and it comes out 2024, the beginning of the year? Do we think that would have benefited from that? And I'm not saying that should have happened because of, again, money. I
mhm.
understand money, but I'm just saying, do we think
Possibly, I
the
think
demo
at
could have
that
Yeah.
been
point
utilized that way?
it would have been too late because honestly, the demo it's still like even way later, like basically it's like a chapter or two ahead of where Jordan is.
Yeah, because you
And
have both spell sets in the demo.
Oh,
yep. So they drop you like I want to say halfway through to maybe even 3/4 of the way through the game in that
okay,
demo. So that's why I can understand why people were having such a hard time with this because they give you very little tutorials in that demo, which is the opposite of the game because I was literally getting tutorials up until the final boss fight.
no,
Hmm.
no.
Yeah. But at the same time, that it kind of makes sense because they introduced this crazy ability like right at the final boss
But it's
fight.
not like they gave you a tutorial at the final boss fight and you did like I am still getting tutorials at the beginning of every chapter, and I'm 50% through the game. Like, the game does not stop with the tutorials. The game is just throwing so much at you at once that, like I said, I'm double the amount that I should be because the game isn't engaging. If you asked me, I feel like I'm just at the start of this game. Like, it's funny. It's for as
It's a
open
short
world
RPG.
For as open world as it is incredibly handholdy.
Okay. Are those our closing thoughts? Is there any last second things before I get us out of here on our Forspoken review?
I would say wait for a deep discount, like, that maybe like that $20 discount, and then, or even just for it to come to PS Plus or Game Pass, be my opinion.
Okay. Is this because it had like marketing with PlayStation, but it's
no, it is. It's a PlayStation exclusive and on PC.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. Okay. We at Shared Screens, aka Alec, we are giving Forspoken a 6 out of 10. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. Did you love it? Did you want to give it a 9 out of 10? Let us know. So, thank you for watching. My name's Austin, and I'm going to wave goodbye to the camera. See ya.